Good morning, friends. It's Vicki. I'm at work and the sun is just coming up. So I just wanted to get one more little video in here. So, as you can see, I still have all this grass over here in this little pile of mulch that I need to finish spreading. My gosh, it's hard to make myself come out here on my days off and do this, but I really need to get it done in the next week or two, because then I'll be completely done. And then the last thing I'll have to do in this garden is put in bulbs, and I'm anxious to do that. Bulb planting is not my favorite thing, but I have a lot of them and it will really make a huge impact in the spring, so I need to get them in here. Anyway, I'm gonna kind of start over here, which is on the northeast side of the building. Right here, you'll have to just kind of pretend that this grass isn't right here in the middle, but I do have a grass border that's kind of outlining where this path is going to be, and it's going to go through and arch around the other side of the building. So just imagine all of this grass gone, and then everything over here on this side gone. This whole area over here is not planted yet. I'm not even worrying about that until next year after the paths are put in, or the path singular. I'm not sure if it'll be one or two. But let me walk you through the area that I have planted. You may notice there's some little circles here on the ground. I spray painted those just to kind of tell myself where some of these bushes that I planted might ultimately get to that size, so I can pay attention to what I'm planting and only plant ground covers or things that stay smaller under those areas. So anyway, this clump right here is called Pink Evening Primrose, and this is actually a beautiful flower. I had some at the rental garden, and it's just really pretty, and it blooms for a very long time. I'd say spring all the way through fall. It just kept reblooming for me at the other place. Now, I transplanted these from the house and put them over here, so they haven't bloomed for me yet in this garden, but I expect next year, once we're into spring, that these will, do the same thing, just bloom for a really long time. And they spread. Be careful if you plant this plant. They spread voraciously. I'm not going to do it, but if you were to dig into the ground right here, you see all of these little plants. These are just all spreading, and if you were to dig in here, you would find all of these really small white fibrous roots, and if you don't get all of the root, it just comes back. So this is the kind of thing you do not want to plant unless you're really sure that you want it in there, or you have a contained area to keep it in. Because I've seen it and how pretty it is, and because this is such a big garden area, I wasn't concerned about putting it in here. But again, it will spread throughout the whole garden, so just something to keep in mind. Up here, I have some pink yarrow. I've got probably 9 of them, maybe even more. This right here is some Monarda on the ground right here. Most of it's cut down. That taller piece right there is actually phlox, some sort of pink phlox. I have a hydrangea right there. I'm not sure which one that is. And this one right here is my lace cap. I just recognize it because of the flat top. Over here, another hydrangea. I have some ferns along this window. I want to make sure I'm getting some views of the morning sunrise. Isn't that pretty? This is what it looks like around my work area. There's a big giant apartment complex, and I don't know what that building is. We've only been here for less than a year, but anyway, I've got some, what are these? Hellebore. This is a leucotho, scarlet leucotho. Another hydrangea. I believe this is another hydrangea. It's really small. A lot of my hydrangeas did not do great in the transplant from the other house, so unfortunately they are all quite small and have died back, but only a couple of them didn't actually make it, so I think they'll rebound next year. These little clumps of kind of lime green color that you're seeing, those are native violets. That is a hosta. I think that one is Sum and Substance. Over here, kind of hard to see because it's almost the same color as the wet mulch. I planted Starship Rose Lobelia. I think they're supposed to get about 2 feet tall. I have several of them. I bought like 20 of them on clearance from Lowe's. And although they don't look like much of anything right now, if these all come back in the spring, you know, they'll obviously bigger and everything. And then next fall they will bloom. And here's what their flowers look like. There's a few over here that still have some on them. You see, this is what they look like. And they'll be taller and straighter. Like, I pulled these off of the clearance rack, so they're not looking great. But the reason I was so excited to find these, and I got 20 of them, is because this area stays so wet all through here along the building. So I'm planting things that like a lot of water, will absorb a lot of water, don't mind if their feet are wet, that kind of thing. Because I have lost some plants in this area that I've tried to plant that just weren't tolerant enough of wet feet. Like, I still have 2 hydrangeas hanging on. Here's one, and here's one. I don't know if this one's going to make it, but these are supposed to be bloom struck. So we'll see if those come back in the spring. This area is doing really good. I planted bog grass. I don't know if that's the name of it. That's just what I call it. I believe it's a native in our area. That is definitely a native. This right here is blue flag iris. This kind of pale chartreuse color is a milkweed, the white type, but I think it's very close to the pink swamp milkweed in the fact that it likes wet feet, or it can tolerate wet feet. And then over here I have a blue vervain, just one. Hopefully that'll spread by seed in the future because those are really pretty. And then right here in the middle I have a rose mallow, and that is also something that likes to grow in the water. Again, more of the pink lobelia around this way. I have one, what is it called? Iron plants? I feel like that's not right. I'll try to pop the name on the screen if I think of what that is. Over here, I've got another clump of yarrow. Oh, speaking of yarrow, I wanted to mention that I always thought that this is a drought-tolerant plant, and I think that it is. Like, I think it'll live in areas that get really dry. But having grown it now in multiple different areas, it also can tolerate a lot of water. Like, these have been planted and look fantastic. Better than the ones that I have at my house that are not planted in a wet area. These look good. So now I know that although yarrow can live in a drought-tolerant area, it actually looks good and can tolerate wet soil. So I'm really happy to have learned that. These clumpy ones, I have 3 of them. This is the one I'm referring to. These are called Gara. They will get orange flowers. I have orange or red, actually. I don't remember. And then I've got some butterfly milkweed. It's almost died down now, end of the season basically, but this is kind of what it looks like with this more darker green color when it's in its prime, but it's already bloomed and everything. Interspersed in here is like more yarrow. I've got yellow yarrow in this column, and I've got cone flowers. I tried to do mostly like red and orange cone flowers. I was trying to reproduce what I had done at the rental house, which I thought looked really good, with a lot of oranges, reds, and yellows in this specific area. Now, I did put in some Roseanne ground cover back there. The reason I did that was just because, I don't know, I had it, and I put in these 2 big hardy hibiscus, and these ones here is what I'm referring to. And eventually these will get like 5 feet tall and wide. And so I didn't want to put anything else really in this space. And I wanted, from that window, I wanted you to look out and see those filling in most of this whole space. But then along the ground would be the purple Roseanne. So I'm going to see how I feel about that next year. I may end up moving the purple out of this area and like into that area where I have more blues and pinks and stuff like that. We'll just have to see, like I said, how I feel about it next year. But that's pretty much what I have in that area. Here's some daisies. This is ice plant, which also gets a purple flower. Along this side, I have a lot more yellow and orange. I've got more yarrow over there. That's the peach sky variety. I've got a bunch of coreopsis. Most everything is cut down over in this area. It's already bloomed and been cut back. I've got some white daisies, yellow coreopsis. Got some sedums here. Most of those are autumn joy, although there are a couple that are a different variety. They appear to have the same coloring, honestly, so I don't know. I've got some black-eyed Susans here, some blanket flower back there, some penstemon right here. These are different types that I grew from seed from my other house. I don't know the names of what varieties those are, but you know, hopefully I'll be able to identify them in the future. I've got this long stand of iris, bearded iris, that was donated by a coworker of mine. He actually moved to Florida recently, and he brought all of this iris into me in like 3 boxes from his house before he moved out, because he wanted to donate it to the garden. So I thought that was really sweet. And then over here, this one that's kind of tall that you see toward the back is called prairie ironweed. And that's a native for our area. I did plant from seed just a few days ago some New York ironweed, which is also beautiful. And I planted that just kind of going along this way. So maybe that will come in kind of behind of and running adjacent to the prairie ironweed. I have a couple of butterfly bushes. They are not in bloom, but here's one of them. Hopefully those come back for me. I've not had great luck with butterfly bushes in this zone 5 area that we live in. Oh, I almost stepped on it. I have some, I think that's one too, smooth blue aster. So the foliage, you can't really tell right now, but earlier in the year it was kind of like a silvery blue color. And then I'm hoping this is going to be its flowers. But I grew these from seed at my rental house, and I've got, I don't know, maybe 10 or so of those. Some are smaller. I've got more cone flower over there. I've got some monarda along the back. And then right here I planted from seed, you can barely see it, is a patch of obedient plants, which I had at my terrace house. It gets really pink flowers, and it loves wet areas, so that's one of the reasons why I chose it to put it here. What else? Down here, just more cone flower. I also planted some vervain from seed. I think it was right here, or maybe like all right here. Not vervain. Culver's root. It's I think it's called Veronicastrum. These tall things back here with the kind of little, whatever you call those, circle puff things, that's a type of Liatris. I think it's called prairie fire Liatris or something like that. It's a native in our area. I missed this pink phlox that was in bloom. I'm not sure if I mentioned this. More yarrow over here. Oh yeah, I did tell you about this because that's what I was saying. It's looking really good in the wet area. All right, I guess that pretty much covers it, guys. I just wanted to show you what it's looking like, and the light is pretty at this time of day. Oh, I should just mention this back that looks kind of rough. What's happening is, as I'm pulling these grass clumps out of the garden area, I'm piling them along the back of this circle because I wanted to create kind of like a little hill just to give the garden an area of interest, because everything is so flat. And then not only that, but when we have helicopters come into land, they land over there, and so it's blowing everything this way. And I just thought it would give the plants a little bit of protection to not necessarily get toppled over. That's my hope anyway. We'll see how it works in real life. Let me end you on this beautiful sunrise. All right, friends, take it easy. We'll talk to you next time.